Welcome to this session on Python list, and as discussed in previous session we have to create three functions. So let's start with our first function. So first I am finding the count of all the element in the list because its logic is very simple. We discussed in previous session that this for loop help us to iterate over every item in the list, but I have to find count. So let's create a count variable, initialize this with 0, and in the for loop you can increment the value of this variable so that you can count all the elements. So for every item in the list our count will be incremented by 1, and after this for loop you can simply print the value of count. Let's run this. So all these are the elements. Last element is 16 and the count is 7. Wow, so we have final solution, but we have to create function for this. So let's define count list function. I need to pass data as a list. This will be my input. This is the code. I am indenting this. I need to return this value. Now let's call this function. So here I am calling my list name as data, so I have to use here data. I am iterating each element of this list. Let's run this. Yeah, count is 5. Good. This is not required print statement, you can remove this list. Let's run this code. So we have count function. Now next task will be to write sum function which will find sum of all the elements in the list. So let's write the code for this. So let's name this function as sum list. Again we are passing list with name data. We have to find the total sum. Initialize this variable as now sum, and the total sum will be sum equal to sum plus each item. So I hope this makes sense to you. So we are initializing sum equal to 0. So here let's suppose this is my list. Sum is initialized with 0. It will iterate first item. So the first item will be 2, and this sum initial value is 0. So this 0 is added with the value of item, and my sum variable will be updated to 2. I hope this makes sense to you. So we are initializing sum with 0, item is 2, so sum equal to 0 plus 2, so sum will be 2 at this point. Now I will extract next item which is 3. So here the value of sum is 2. Now item is 3. So 2 plus 3 is 5. So sum will update it to 5. Next time we are extracting 4. Sum is already 5. So 5 plus 4, sum become 9. Next item is 5. Sum is already 9. So 9 plus 5, 14. So sum is updated to 14. Next time we iterate our final item 6. Sum is 14 plus 6, 20. Sum will be updated to 20. And after this we have to return the value of sum. Let's run this code. You can see the output is 20. So I hope this makes sense to you. And if you count these values, 5, 4, 9, 14, 20, yeah. Let's check this for this. So this time the output is 5. So we have sum function, we have count function. Now we can use this function to write average of list. So let's write the code for average of list. So let's name this average list. I don't need this. So this time we need to first of all find sum of all the elements, and to find the sum of all the elements I can call this function. sum list. So this sum list function will take this data as parameter and it will return sum of all the elements. I will also need count of all the elements. For this, let's call count list, pass again data as a list. So we have sum and count. Now let's calculate average. So average is sum divided by count, and I can return this value. Let's print the value of sum and count to verify all the operations. So here I'm calling average list. Let's run this. Yeah, output is 2.5. This, so sum is 5, count is 2, average is 2.5, so that's why we are getting 2.5. Let's add one more element. So this time sum is 15, items are 3, average is 5. Good, this makes sense. Now let's run this for blank list. So there is no element in my list. So this time you can see that I am getting 0 division error because count will be 0 and sum divided by 0 will return 0 division error. So I have to solve this problem, and the error is raised at this point because count is 0 in that case. So you can simply check the length or count of the list, and if count of the list is 0, then we can simply return without executing this code. So here I can add if count of this is equal to 0, then you can simply write return false. So I hope this makes sense to you. So first of all, it will check the count of elements in this list, and if this list is having no element or 0 element, then it will return false. So function will simply return false and come out of this. But if the count is not 0, then it will execute this remaining code and it will return average. So let's run this. So you can see that we are getting false. You can even add one print message, list is blank. Let's run this again. Yeah, list is blank and it is returning false. And let's have one element. You can see the average is 2.0. Yeah, so this is my final function, and you can see that finally we have 3 functions. First is count list, which is returning count of all the elements in the list. Sum list is returning sum of all the elements. And finally we are calling these 2 functions, sum list and count list, storing the value in respective variables and calculating the average and returning the average. So this is all about this session, and so at this point I have another task for you, and the task is to create a function to return minimum element of the list. Take your time and try to solve this problem. To solve this problem, I wish to give one hint to you. I recommend everyone to watch this video, which is about visualization, how to find minimum maximum value in an array. You can consider array as a list, and in this video she explained very well how we can find out the minimum. I'm providing the link of this video in the description. So those who are doing this first time, I recommend them to watch this video so that you can understand the logic behind finding the minimum element, and then you can work on Python to implement that logic. See you next session with the solution of this problem. Thanks for watching this video. Bye bye.